Welcome to a Celtic State of Mind. I'm John Dykes, and the reason I just laughed there was because there was comments made just before we came on, which was just raw emotion from three Celtic fans watching for the first time since 1997 an opening day defeat. This time it's at the hands of Hearts at Tynecastle, and we spoke at half time. Tony, we spoke about having a lack of confidence in a side that goes a goal down. Tony Ralston, you were calling him Ralston Dino after that goal. Even then at that point, how much confidence did you think that Celtic had it in them to put this Hearts side, who are newly promoted from the Championship, to the sword? Did you have any confidence that it was going to happen? Listen, I know we had a wee late flurry at the end, and we're going to talk about that, but I'm talking about the character in this side that I can't see. I can't see the character. I can't see the midfield enforcer after McGregor's ankle about gets broken by Halliday. I don't see it, Tony. I don't think we've got a bite. I don't think we've got an edge. We've just been beaten by a team that are newly promoted to the Premiership. Tell me about your thoughts on that second half. In fact, on that performance tonight.
Well, performance was mediocre. The Celtic players lacked belief that they could actually go on and win that game. Hearts finished the stronger side, and Celtic's stamina was questionable from the hour mark onwards. 65, 70 minutes.
Yep.
I think Kevin said in the group chat, we looked dead on our feet after about 65, 70. And the same could be said for the other night against Midtjylland. It's, do you know what? You know who's to blame for this. Mm-hmm. We've said it all along. The Celtic board are watching that performance tonight. Come out and tell us what you're actually seeing. This club's in free fall. It's in free fall. I don't care if it's the start of the season. They're in free fall. That's 3 competitive games, not 1 win. You have to back, if this is the man that they've chosen to bring success back to the football club, they have to back him. This club that first team needs gutted.
Major surgery.
You joked about 5 players. He needs about 8 players. Celtic need about 8 new players. And not just jersey fillers. You need 8 quality players. That tonight's just deplorable. Ralston's goal apart. The cracking goal. We always talk about end product. He produced an end product there. But that apart, nothing to recommend it. Never did they have many chances after that. Don't think so. And we spoke about it at the start. Sorrow gave away the free kick for the goal, didn't he?
Sorrow's incapable, Tony, of going through a half of football without giving away numerous free kicks, and it's a part of his game. We talk about players, Kevin. We spoke about Frimpong earlier because we were talking about right backs. Often there's a part of a player's game that prevents them from taking that step and being a great player. And I always felt when it came to Frimpong, it was his final ball. When I look at Sorrow, it's his inability to time a tackle. It's his inability to go through a half without 4, 5, 6 challenges that could end them up with him in the book. Kevin Graham, you'll remember, as many of the viewers will tonight, that the last time we had an opening day defeat, it was also in Edinburgh, of course. It was at Easter Road, 2-1, Henrik Larsson's debut. We know how that ended that season. Tony Haggerty's talking about major surgery in that Celtic side. Yes, personnel-wise, but there seems to be a real rot in terms of the fitness. Now, Ange Postecoglou spoke about it this week when he was questioned again about his backroom team, and he pointed out, there is loads of staff in the backroom team, so he wasn't really focusing on the assistant and on Gavin Strachan, which a lot of fans do because they're kind of focal point figures. He's talking about sports science. That team did look knackered tonight, and I think they look knackered against Midtjylland. That's a huge concern, Kevin, because this isn't the first time that's happened when a manager's come in and inherited a Celtic side.
That team's got the stamina of an asthmatic 75-year-old trying to get up a hill. That's basically what we saw tonight, and what we've seen against Midtjylland in 2 games is Neil Lennon's Celtic team trying to play Pep Guardiola's football, and it's never going to work. And there's so many of them off the pace. so many of them that it's really quite. I mean, how often are we going to keep on going back to beat on for them to make the same mistakes? There's too many passengers on that side. There was too many passengers in that season, in that team tonight. This is a horrible start for Postecoglou, an absolutely horrible start for Postecoglou. His journey, his story hasn't started off very well, and I mean, we had fans booing when we were getting beat 3-1 at half time of West Ham. I fear what's going to happen within the next couple of months, because I don't think this is a bottom. I think we're going to get worse before we get better, or we could get worse before we get better. And tonight we just look like a rudderless ship, clueless.
Rudderless ship.
Callum McGregor tried his best, but he's got guys there who are just empty vessels to go along with the empty suits sitting in the stand. We've got our goalkeepers actually probably play rock, paper, scissors to decide who's actually playing. We've got a full-back who couldn't get a game for St Johnstone, and St Johnstone didn't want him back. We've got Beaton, who, as I say, keeps on making the same mistakes more and more again. You bring in Carl Starfelt tonight. That's debut proportions of a debut tonight for him. He's completely unlucky, right? He hasn't played for me. He's had a half a training session with us, and we throw him in, and he looks like that. No surprise, absolutely no surprise whatsoever. You've got Eddie up front, who he looks like a man that's cancelled his removal van 3 times, but still living out boxes. Just get rid of him. Just punt him. Anybody that doesn't want to be there, get rid of them now. This is it. We're not even at the bottom as what we're going to do. And anybody sitting watching that tonight, Hearts were by far the better team tonight. Hearts
we were hungrier, certainly hungrier, Kev.
That last 20 minutes, you knew what was coming. It was no surprise when they scored, because fair play to Hearts, all credit to them tonight, and I'm looking forward to challenging the top 6 if that continues any longer.
We mentioned at the beginning of the show tonight, Tony and I, about that question, Kevin. You know, how all it takes. I mean, Celtic have had numerous poor transfer windows, and that is, you know, one of the reasons why we are where we are. You know, the wafer-thin squad, the fact that we're going into Tynecastle once again, we're throwing someone in for the first ever game, competitive game in a Celtic jersey. Against Midtjylland, we had to give Murray his first ever start in a Celtic jersey. We shouldn't be in that position, but this is gears. It's a number of transfer windows that has got us where we are. But other clubs continually to make small steps in progress. And the big concern is, yes, we know going by last season that we're certainly second best or even third best. We go to a stadium like Tynecastle where, you know, on paper you think we've got to be able to beat a team that's just come up from the Championship. But when every single one of their players is organised, Kev, they've got a game plan, and, you know, that you see Suter there after the injuries that he's had. He would have done anything to get to that ball. Which player in our defence was matching his run? Which player in our defence had the same desire to win that header? Because I didn't even see a challenge. Now, that concerns me, because that's a prerequisite. You're wearing a professional football jersey of any description, Tony. And what I seen tonight was extremely worrying. Now, you get knocked out of Europe, that's 4 times in a row. We're knocked out of the Champions League during the qualifying stage. And I'm not going to say there was a sense of inevitability about it, but this is the real deal. This is the bread and butter, and we can't even get that sorted.
Kevin said it there, it's going to get worse before it gets better. Strap yourself in. You know what I mean? How if Celtic went to that ground today worrying about a team that came up from the Championship, they'd have every right to worry. You know, we stayed at the top of the programme that we thought that was a team that was geared up for winning and not to get beat. My goodness, how wrong were we? I mean, Celtic are bereft of anything at the minute. Cohesion, structure, discipline, organisation, you know, a game plan, a style, you know. Just that, I can't see it, what we're meant to be doing at the minute. I don't blame the manager. This just goes right. Myself and Kevin's bugbear, those at the top, they've failed to arm this manager, and he's getting more and more frustrated, and he's cutting a forlorn figure in that technical area, because he knows this team are substandard. There's substandard players in that team, and as you say, where's anyone's in the defence desire to go and header that? But you know there's a cross ball coming in. It's the last minute of the game. Post it, listen.
I don't think it was a lack of desire, Tony. I just think it was a lack of fitness. They just didn't have they just didn't have the anything in them to do.
Desire to go and win that ball, Kevin. It's in the air in the last minute. You know it's coming into your box. Throw everything at it. You know what I mean? Just get in front of Suter and just, free header. I mean, nobody near him. Basic stuff. And how many goals did we watch like that last season? And then we all said, well, it can't get any worse than last season. And
it's going to get worse than last season. It's going to get worse.
Of course it is. Because they're just that to me is worse than last season. You know what I mean?
I heard your comments at the start, and actually for myself, I'm going, look, have a look where we are. Have a look where we are as a football club. Have a look where we are all over the ship, and we were rightly worried going to Tynecastle tonight playing a team of journeymen who basically for the last half hour wanted to win that game more than what we did. And that's that bottom line. And I see folk in the comments going like that, you can't say Hearts for a better football team. Well, until the last 30 seconds there, Craig Gordon had hee-haw today all night. Absolutely nothing today all night. And that says everything. Scott Bain was the busier goalkeeper.
Bottom line, Kev, right, talking about you can't say Hearts for a better team. There is never an asterisk to say, but for 35 minutes we had 70% possession, but for 20 minutes we had 80% possession. They beat us. We're second bottom of the league. Rangers have already gone out and done what they're going to be doing most of this season, got the job done. We've been unable to do it. What was two of the many issues we had last season? The first one, we didn't know who was going to be in goals. We didn't know who the number one was, and we didn't have a defence that could defend a set piece. What were two of the biggest issues so far since Ange Postecoglou's came in? Exactly the same. So a couple of players have changed here and there, but I tell you what, there's a deep-rooted issue right through that football club at the moment. Ange Postecoglou, I think, would be a miracle worker if he's going to turn this round, because it goes even beyond what's happening on the park. I mean, you've got a board of directors, Kev, who, for me, are completely unfit for purpose. Completely unfit for purpose. You've got Dom Mackay coming in, and I'm betting you that he is shocked at the lack of strategy at that football club. Ange Postecoglou's coming in. He will be shocked at the lack of depth in the football department. He'll be shocked at the lack of recruitment options that he has available. And he'll be shocked that when he wants a player, it doesn't get over the line. What's happened to the right back we're meant to be signing a week and a half ago? And I'm not taking away for Ralston. We've stood up for him. He scored an incredible goal tonight. That's going to be shown time and time again. But the bottom line is we got beat tonight. And since Ange has come in, we still don't know what the story is with the goalkeeper. Scott Bain made a good save tonight, by the way. Otherwise, it would have been even worse. But on the other side of the park, Kevin, we've been beaten tonight by a team whose goalkeeper, who pulled off two worldlies at the end, was a reject at Celtic by the end. Let's not revise the situation. He was nowhere near the first team by the time he left Celtic. Gary Mackay-Steven opened the scoring tonight. He was nowhere near the Celtic team. So there's something more than ability that's lacking at Celtic Park. There's something more than just that desire and that ability. There's a deep rot set in here. And I think what Tony says, strap yourself in. You get criticised for being negative. I'll tell you what, I want to see this working. I really want to see it working. You've got Edouard up front, Kevin. Here's the point. Just get rid of him. Nobody wants him. The team we thought that were haggling over a price apparently haven't even had an inquiry. We've not had an inquiry from Brighton. So, yeah, it's great. It would be brilliant to get £20 million and move on. But what if you're served up with performances like that so often that the scouts aren't even interested and the teams aren't going to be... Who would spend £20 million based on his performance, his 3 games this season? Seriously.
I can't disagree, Paul, and it goes back to what I said last week was... This club has rewarded failure at every single level from the bottom to the top for the last decade. And I'm not talking about domestic, because we have been successful domestically, but I'm talking about like failure at the highest level that we can get, which is getting into the Champions League, which is getting a free run at the Champions League. And we've rewarded coaches, scouting, guys who have failed at their job at every corporate level of Celtic Football Club, and they're sitting there still comfortable. And I'm not advocating anybody to lose their job, but the club is stale, it's rotten, it's a dead fish. That's what it is, and it's made its way down to the players now. I says last week that the club prepares to get beaten in Europe. The club prepares to get beaten in these qualifiers, and the players now believe they get beaten in these qualifiers because it's a mindset that comes from the top. The mindset from the top of that club is lazy. And it's getting through to the players now, and we need an utter root and branch change. And that could mean that some of the guys who we reckon that can do a job can get out the door.
Kevin, remember the episode some time ago, by the way. I don't even think it was this year. And we said fat, arrogant and lazy. Remember we said that? And we didn't mean physically anybody was overweight, but we spoke about the club, and that's how we described it, Kevin. Now, I'm not seeing much improvement in that. Anthony. Now, obviously, what I seen last season was excuse after excuse after excuse, where I would much rather have seen responsibility being taken by a number of different individuals at the football club. If you want to stick to that kind of narrative, you'll come out tonight and say, but Halliday should have been sent off. But Abada might have been onside. By the way, I think he was, Tony. I know that you disagree, and that's absolutely fine. And we can talk about that. But you know what? These two little moments aren't the reason we lost that football game.
And I'll say but we get beat 2-1.
Yes.
See for 20 million quid, you could probably buy the whole Celtic team right now. You know what I mean? And it's just, Kevin's right, and I touched on it there. This club's in free fall, by the way. Someone has to address this. This club is in free fall, and a major downward spiral. And you can be blind faith and as optimistic as you want and say, you shouldn't be criticising the club. Why not? We're not criticising the club, we're criticising the people that are running the club and that have allowed this to happen and who have been warned constantly for the past 2 or 3 years. Don't fall asleep at the wheel, don't get fat, lazy and arrogant, don't get complacent. And this is what happens. Mm-hmm. You got a manager here who's just like, he doesn't know. He's walked into the wrong movie set. Played 3 competitive games. We've looked knackered in every one of them after an hour, 65 minutes, and they've not got a result. And we've lost to teams that are disciplined and organised. Mm. Wow. Yeah. Disciplined and organised. Notice I didn't say they're good teams. They're just disciplined and organised.
It's not that, Tony, as well. We're giving up
all over the shop. Sorry, Kevin.
We're giving up chances against these teams as well. And I wouldn't be bothered if we were creating chances at the other end, but we're creating nothing. We're absolutely creating nothing.
An edge, nothing. And that's what happens when you play a striker that's heads at the door.
But how many times did wing players, Forrest and Ralston, get to the byline the night and whipping a ball as if they were trying to hit Easter Road?
Right, we're no end product.
It's one of these things, and you can say it's a lack of time. Yes, we are in a major transition, but the fact that we've got to this point is all down to one thing, and it's down to years and years and years of mismanagement, years and years of us allowing the mismanagement. And I'm part of the problem because I've renewed my season ticket. I'm part of the problem. It's letting letting this board away with it, and I know I'm a.
Kev, we're talking here about a situation, and you've spoken about it time and time again, that it's been allowed to happen because we all know that success masks a million deficiencies, right? So, yes, you were very vocal about it, Kev, and you came in for a fair bit of criticism for talking about it when we were winning, and now you're talking about it because it's come home to roost. Now, the problem I've got with this is that what we required was the kind of manager that could come in, and we spoke about it before the game, a Martin O'Neill type of manager who could come in and manage the transition. There is now going to be doubt. She pulled up a comment earlier on, just very briefly, about when does Ange become accountable for this. There comes a point where that's what the question will be. There'll be no more, there's the old board, Kevin, and you just staple Don Mackay on top of it, what will happen is that's the board. You're all part of it. You're all accountable for this now because you've all got the ability to make decisions and make changes. Do you feel, Kev, that the Celtic board have already been willing, because of the level of transition that we're going through, to admit defeat this season? Are they already writing this season off because they're so slow to act, they're so slow to bring in the level of player that we require, not only to progress in Europe, by the way, but obviously to compete domestically? It feels to me as though they had already written this season off, which is unacceptable.
I heard, I was out in the car earlier on, and I heard St Mirren manager Jim Goodwin, and he says they were talking about the boy McGrath that plays in the centre of St Mirren's midfield.
Yep.
And Jim Goodwin says, he says there's 4 weeks left to the transfer window. And I went, there is 4 weeks left to the transfer window, but we want everything done yesterday because everything needed done yesterday with Celtic. But there's 4 weeks of this transfer window left, and there's 9 months of the season left. Am I writing off the season? It's far too early to write off the season, but I'm not writing off what I hoped was when we get back, when we get to January, we're still in touch. And that hasn't changed, and I said that weeks ago, because this is a long haul. This is not a quick fix. This is not a Martin O'Neill fix. This is not a Brendan Rodgers fix. This is one that we need to strap ourselves in, and this club needs utterly modernised. And we need to hope, pray to whoever, pray to owners Deacon that Ange Postecoglou and Don Mackay are going to modernise this football club, and it may take time, and we may just need to write this season off. But that's what we need to do, and if that's what we need to do, we need to do.
See, the thing, Tony, I look at it slightly differently, because I would never write anything off with Celtic as a fan. However,
I don't accept transitional seasons.
You can modernise a club. You can do a long-term modernisation of a football club while still performing on the park.
Still being competitive. I mean, that writing it off. See if they wrote it off. They want to come out and tell people that then. You know what I mean? Because that's unacceptable for any Celtic team to have a transitional season. I refuse to accept that. And I think they're ripping fans off if that's their mindset. If they genuinely think they're, Ange will take Ange a cut, no, that's unacceptable for any Celtic team to be in a transitional season or writing a season off at any level. That's just, honestly, those words grate me. I don't.
The thing is, Tony,
I don't get it. I try and be lucid and articulate when I'm on this, but see those words, they would make me damn angry. And a lot of the Celtic supporters as well, who were told, if you give us your season ticket money, as Kevin's just alluded to there, we will fund this man's spending splurge.
This isn't about one game. I want to make that point clear. This isn't about one game against Hearts. This is about the inability for Celtic to get their act together. This is about the inability to get the man in the job early enough to rebuild a team that's fit for purpose this season, Tony, like you say, and you can go on about a long-term modernisation of the football club behind the scenes. So no, it's not a knee-jerk reaction. We've been talking about this for a number of months, and it feels as though the inactivity of this Celtic board, the inability of them to act quickly enough and to strengthen quickly enough, will see a situation where, as Kevin says, he wants to still be in touching distance by the turn of the year. Kev, we're going to be up against a team that's not going to give much away. We spoke about that before the game as well. Even if Celtic had a good season last season, it would have been a title race.
It would have been, and it's going to be the same this season. I was, when we got to the last 5 minutes and I was hoping to hold it, I'm going like, well, that's 1 point closer to the 90 that we're probably going to need to get to have any chance of winning the league. Now, it's no points closer to that 90 that we're going to need to have any chance of winning the league. Paul, you make a fantastic point, and it's something that I've been thinking about for quite a long time. The only person that's different doing these transfer deals is Don Mackay. The guys behind him are all the same. The guys behind have all been there for the last decade, who only know how to drag their feet, only know how to to squeeze one more dime out the club that they're trying to get, they're trying to sell, they're trying to deal with. These guys know nothing different. That needs completely gone. That needs completely gone. And we need somebody to come in and knows how to do football deals. We're good at the business side, getting sponsorship deals, but we're not good at the business of football, i.e. that is scouting and getting players in the door when we need them.
Now, you're right, Kev, one man is not going to change all that. That's going to take time. But I think that as a football club, and with the fact that we've had the backing of the fans last season and this season, when there was no guarantee when we'd all get back into the stadiums, they have had enough, in terms of finance to get the team right on the park. And that's down to the incompetence of a board who failed to act, not only when it was time to get rid of the previous manager, but they failed to act quickly enough when they had to bring someone. 106 days, unacceptable. Then you get a guy in the job who's given 40 days before his first Champions League qualifier to put a team on the park. Totally unacceptable.
Well, 6 months since Neil Lennon left. 6 months. And that team resembled a Neil Lennon team, bar Starfelt and Furuhashi and Abada.
Yep.
Outrageous. Mm-hmm. How can you ask any manager to try and we're not writing off the season. But see, we're talking about those upstairs whose mindset might be to write off the season. I've not written off the season, neither's Kevin, neither of you. But you got to say, you're making the point that those upstairs, are they writing it off? And you have to say at this moment in time, they have, because they've not armed the manager with anything since he came in. I alluded to before, when he came in, there should have been a raft of signings after him, because this is the guy that they said was second choice to Eddie Howe, and they'd been courting him for a while. So surely they should have said to him, you're the man, start identifying targets, and we go bang, 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 new manager, new defenders, new midfielder, new strikers. How the Odsonne Edouard thing has got down to this point as well is beyond me. And as Kevin says, we don't have the right people at the club dealing with these issues. Because if someone was at the club dealing with those issues, Odsonne Edouard would be away because he's unhappy. But he would be the man that was dealing with football transfers, a DOF, call him what you like, and scouts going out and saying, he goes, this man comes in, this striker comes in. It's so disjointed, and and they've let it come to this. They've allowed it to happen, as Kevin says, over a long period of time when they just thought, 10 in a row is a certainty. No bother, domestic success, fine, parochial slogans, barred comments when you're announcing sponsorships at your rivals, stuff like that, Well, I'll tell you what, the rivals are laughing at them now, big time, because Celtic are in a massive state, a state of emergency, really. But that club needs gutted. How many players do you think we need to turn this round? Is Virgin on a new team? I said 8. That's a conservative estimate.
You're spot on, Tony, but see the thing that we're getting served up, there's two things I want to pick up on that yourself and Kevin have spoke about tonight. Kevin says, I'm part of the problem. No, you're not, Kevin. You're not part of the problem. There's been a situation when the club, right, have had the fans over a barrel, because if we don't renew our season tickets, because of the pandemic, because of the financial hit that any global industry has had, including football, if you don't do it, then there's a concern over the future of your football club. So I don't blame any Celtic fan for renewing their tickets. And I know that there were people saying, don't buy merch, don't buy season tickets. I was never one of them. You cannot put this on the fan. The second thing I would say, Kev, is, yeah, you're right, Tony. They said about Ange Postecoglou being tracked for a long time, and we were tracking Eddie Howe and dealing with him, and also speaking to Ange. You're not telling me Ange Postecoglou was a second choice after Eddie Howe, because Kev, there's other managers who were approached. There were other managers who were approached before Ange Postecoglou was unveiled as a Celtic manager, and that's a fact. And eventually that will come out. It seems to be that managers, out of respect for the club, don't like to speak about it for a while. Then you find out that when Ronnie Dyler got the job, Steve Clark was spoken to, Henrik Larsson was spoken to, Roy Keane was spoken to. You find all that out later on, Kev, and that's what will happen here. There's no way there was 2 men on that list and Postecoglou was the second name. No way at all. And by the way, there will come a point where he's culpable. There will come a point where he's accountable.
Well, want to know something, right? I bang on about the board. It's one of my favourite subjects, and everybody that knows me as know I've been banging on about Peter Wall and the board for about 6, 7, 8, 9 years, because you could actually see the way that the club was run from top to bottom, from the ticket office to the executive section to all the way for it. It was rotten to the core, and it is rotten to the core. But on a footballing side tonight, Ange playing Beaton instead of Welsh is a mistake. It was a mistake at the start of the game. Beaton should never have been near that team after he let Ange down against Midtjylland. Also, as well, you've got to say he's made the subs far too late when we're dead on our feet once again, and we look. He's not going to change. He's not going to change what he's going to do, but he must actually see himself that pointing out, not making the subs quick enough is damaging that side. Playing Beaton's a mistake tonight. Playing Starfelt's a mistake tonight, and not making the subs quick enough is a mistake tonight. If you're looking at pure coaching mistakes, but I understand why he played Starfelt and understand why he threw Furuhashi onto the game as well, because they're his players. Ange admitted himself in the press conference that he says that when the guy asked him, will Starfelt fit your style? He went, well, that's why I signed him. He was very brutal. He pinned his tail on that. I was going to call him a donkey there. He pinned his tail on that donkey. He pinned his tail on that on that sign.
He's pinned his colours to the mast, aye?
Yeah, aye.
Nailed his colours to the mast, I think you'll find his expression. Yes,
aye. So he's nailed his colours to that mast.
Thank you, the Axon wordsmith, for saving us on that one.
So it's up to him. Now, I found it interesting that he actually says, I didn't need help coaching, but we need help in the sports science and the conditioning. Mm-hmm. That shows to me, and again, this has been stolen from Tony, because Tony says this months and months ago, this shows that we are an analogue club in a digital age.
Yep.
You're not the first one that's stolen it either.
But at least I credited Tony for it.
I know, I stole it and I didn't credit him.
But it's true, isn't it?
It's true.
When you hear statements like that and you worry, that gives you grave concern moving forward, doesn't it? That they are now playing catch up big time. Mm-hmm. You know, and I agree with Kevin to an extent. You know, he's been absolved of any blame because he doesn't have the personnel. But you know, in the Midtjylland game and you know, tonight, I didn't see much of Ange reacting to circumstance. You know, Hearts started to pummel us after an hour. You know, then you would think, okay, maybe time for fresh legs. I mean, and he kind of let it go. I don't know when did the subs come on, 75, 76?
78 minutes.
78 minutes, aye.
You've got 12 minutes to sort of make an impact, and that strikes me as being a kind of throw them on and hoping that the ball falls to them and they score and they dig you out a hole. You know, rather than more tactical. You could see we were getting overrun. The legs had gone. Aye, they looked a bit done.
The other mistake that I'm going to say as well is keeping Sorrow on.
Aye, yeah.
That's...
We gives away the free kick and people are saying it wasn't a free kick. I don't care if it's not a free kick. It's been given and they've scored the winner from it. Right.
If there's one position that we need to be looking at, and again, there's loads of positions that we need to be looking at, but if there's one position that we need to be looking at, is to replace Sorrow. Yeah. Sorrow will not do in Ange's formation playing that role. And I think that's extremely clear. And I also fear the early days, what I've seen of David Turnbull in that formation as well.
Interesting that you bring that up, because remember Alan Morrison warned us about it a few weeks ago. He was on the show and he said, you know, he rates David Turnbull, but he doesn't think he's going to fit the system. And he spoke about that on a Saturday show, so that's interesting. One final thing before we go. Yes, I'm not forgetting the fact that Halliday should have been sent off. Just seen it again from a different angle there, Kev. The ankle was the only target that Halliday had in his sights, and he's right in front. He's right in front of the ref when he does it. You know, that he's right in his line of sight, and it's a sending off all day long. But we've got bigger problems than a couple of poor refereeing decisions that may have been made this evening. It's been busy tonight. Thanks everybody for tuning in, hitting 3,500 live, which shows the frustrations of many Celtic fans who often come on to vent. Sorry I couldn't get more of your comments up on YouTube, Twitter and Facebook, but please keep getting involved, and please subscribe if you haven't done so already. Tonight there will be a prize draw for the Verve Platinum Disc. I know Kevin Graham wants to win it, but he's ineligible for a winner's prize. It will be drawn tonight, and we will announce it tomorrow who's actually won that Platinum Disc. And straight off the bat tomorrow there's a new prize, and it's a Fratelli's Costello Music Platinum Disc as well. So we'll show you that tomorrow or on Monday. All I've got to say, Tony Haggerty, always a pleasure. And Kevin Graham, thank you for joining me despite the result on A Celtic State of Mind.